Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm chatting with Frank Callahan from Golden Caribou. In this interview, we discuss where the gold market could be heading and how Frank communicates his thoughts on the gold market while trying to raise money for a gold exploration company. We also talk about how Frank previously made a major discovery with a company called Barkerville and how that has changed his perspective on exploration. And we get into what shareholders can expect out of Frank's newest venture, Golden Caribou. All right, everybody, enjoy the interview. Frank, thanks so much for joining us today.
Hey, nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you've been a guy who's been known well in the gold markets, both on the junior side and for doing deals with majors. I'm sure that you've been watching the gold market, especially recently when it's actually done pretty quite well in 2024. We've seen gold go over $2,400 US per ounce. There's obviously various speculation on what's driving it, whether we're talking about buying in China, or if we're talking about people speculating on the Fed, or if we're just talking about all the geopolitical tension that's happening around the world. Frank, what's your read on what's happening right now in the gold market?
Well, first off, it's almost $3,200 Canadian, and we mine in Canadian dollars. All the Canadian miners are mining in Canadian dollars and selling in US dollars. So we're very, very happy. As far as the price goes, I love the price. Just the race can stop right here. We're all good. Where it's going to go, no one really knows. Even the ones that think they know, they don't know. But whatever, it's moving in a great direction, and we're pleased with the price. Some say it's going to go higher, and it possibly may. But the current price is just fine. It's we've never seen it this high in anybody's career.
It sounds like part of your thought process when you're looking at gold exploration and raising money is that you're not sort of like, let's just say that when you talk to CEOs of a lot of gold junior companies, they'll make these statements like, oh, gold's going to $5,000 an ounce or $10,000 an ounce. And we've talked to some of them. And some of them are CEOs of major companies. Not that they all do that, but it sounds like that's not really your thought process. You're not trying to convince people that gold is going to go into this crazy rally. What you're saying is if gold effectively can just consolidate here, that gold juniors like Golden Caribou are going to be just fine.
They certainly are. I mean, I've watched gold in my career go from $255 an ounce US dollars to its current price today. It's just going to continue going up, I would imagine. There's no reason for it to go down. I think it's been compounding at probably somewhere around 7 or 8% annually. There's nothing wrong with that. That's how the market sort of works. I'm thrilled with the price that it is today. And our former company that Osisko Development now has is they're going into production, and they couldn't have picked a better time to be doing it. Price of metal, like I said, is near 3,200 Canadian. It's fantastic.
What's kind of interesting to me when I look at the gold market right now, and especially the gold juniors, is it's clear that capital is not really flowing in for most. I know Golden Caribou has had a pretty good 2024. You're off to a good start. You raised a bunch of money. Do you get the sense that that there's going to be some catalyst that's needed in order for us to see more capital flowing into even the majors who really haven't seen that much interest? I know last week we had Stanley Druckenmiller come out, and he said that he was increasing his positions in Barrick and Freeport McMoran and Newmont. So it sounds like we're hearing some inklings of smarter money hopping in. What sense do you get when you're chatting with investors, or I don't know if you chat with any of the larger institutional investors, that some of that money on the sidelines is starting to look at hopping in? And do you think that there's some sort of catalyst that they need to really start diving into some of these bigger gold names?
Well, the seniors in the midterm tier producers, they've got to really go first before the junior market takes off. I think Barrick and some of the others that you've mentioned, they're 20% off of their bottom, and the junior market is just starting to take off. Some of them are a little bit getting a slow start. Our market cap is still really quite small in terms. The share price may have, appreciated a little bit, but the market cap is still really quite small. what's going to get the investors there? Discoveries. Discoveries is what usually brings investors into the market. So it's not driven by the price of metal or that sort of stuff. It's discoveries that are made, and that's why I'm back. We've got a discovery, so like that's what's exciting for me.
Can I add to that? And I know you and I have chatted in the past, and you said that one of your biggest investing wins of your entire career was investing early in Great Bear. And when I look at Great Bear, I think, that was a discovery, and that should have generated a tremendous amount of interest in gold juniors. And to some extent it probably did. But I feel like what happened there was that the company wasn't loud enough about their results, and and there was other stuff happening in the economy. Obviously everybody was sort of talking about the pandemic, and tech stocks were booming, and almost everything. It was effectively an everything bubble. But I feel like it's not just getting those discoveries. It's also making sure that the retail investing community gets behind it and gets excited about it, because that's what's going to get more people excited about investing in junior mining and get capital flowing into the sector. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, Great Bear, what a win that was. And you're right. That when it started to take off, I mean, I participated in 2 early financings in that company in the low 20-cent range, and watched it go to plus $25, and I was still a shareholder. But the public missed the party on getting involved in it early, and then it just became institutional investors that got involved in it. I mean, that's such a Cinderella story. I mean, the property was purchased for $100,000. There'd been a bunch of majors that had been on that property before, and they just did a fantastic job. It lit up that camp. That camp was really quite active. So that's what happens when a discovery is made. The camp lights up. I'm expecting something like that to happen where we are. They've got there's mines that are going into production in the neighborhood where we are. The public really just hasn't come to the party yet. A fellow was telling me yesterday. I said, it's like we're having a party. It's 9:00 and no one's showing up yet. And all the really good partiers don't really show up till 11. So so we're sitting waiting for everyone to come. The chips and pop are all out and drinks are there, and we're just we're waiting. Table set. So it's tough. Like, what's going to bring the public back? The price of the metal, probably. A price of the metal and discoveries. That's what brings the public, and knowing they can make money. I mean, there's been some real heavy losses for the last. I've been out of the market for 10 years. I came back, 3 months ago into the market. Not even 3 months ago. The market, the people have exited the market about 10 years ago, and now it's a new generation of people, a new generation of investors that are coming back in, and we got to appeal to them, find out what do they like, what makes them want to go and buy a stock. That's the secret right now. What makes them want to go buy a stock?
So let's talk about Golden Caribou. It's the first time we've had you guys on. What's the high level overview of the company? Where are the assets, and why are you excited about what you have as an exploration property?
So, it goes back to 1999. We had a fellow by the name of Bob Middleton. Unfortunately, he's since passed away. But when he was out there looking at the discovery that we made, and we made it in the spring of 2000, but it was the fall of 1999 when Bob was out there looking at the property. And he's going, Frank, these are the same rocks that we see between Timmins and Val-d'Or. You just keep drilling this stuff, and sure enough, you're going to find something. Well, fast forward, half a dozen months later, and the geologist never made it to the drill. The drillers drilled too far, and a discovery was made. That's the truth of the matter. And, it's finding gold in a rock formation that hadn't been recognized as being gold bearing before. I mean, the stock just took off when the discovery was made. We're on to something similar to that right now. We're finding gold in a rock formation that really hasn't been recognized as being gold bearing before in this camp. So we're on a greenstone contact. All of the best mines, the largest mines in the world, are all on a greenstone contact. That hole going all the way from Kirkland Lake, Timmins, all the way to Val-d'Or, gold production in excess of 300 million ounces. It's all on a greenstone contact. We're definitely in the right rocks. We're trying things that haven't been tried before in this camp. There's been a few majors have been on this property before us. Much like the Great Bear story, there've been a bunch of different groups have been on that property as well, and to no avail. So here we're looking at trying to, and we've actually recognized that we've gotten gold in a rock formation that hadn't been recognized as being gold bearing before, and the widths are large. And we're currently drilling, and there's lots of joy in the works. I'm expecting great things from this.
So when we look at the Quesnelle Gold Quartz Mine property, what can you tell us about, like, what was, my understanding is that there used to be production on it. Can you give us a sense of how much historic drilling there's been, and how long ago that was, what happened with production there in the past?
Okay, so the old timers in the 1800s, after the California Gold Rush, they all migrated north looking for more gold. They hit the Fraser River, and then walking up the Fraser River, both sides of the Fraser River, and then up to the tributaries that all feed into the Fraser, is how the gold discoveries were initially made in that whole Cariboo trend that goes from likely British Columbia, almost in the center, all the way up to Hickson. And those are the bookends. And so at one end is where our former project was, and that's now north of 6 million ounces. That's been identified and confirmed by Osisko Development. And we're at the other bookend of it, and we're at Hickson, and this is where the greenstone contact was, and it's all the heat source, and it's just a different change of rocks. These fluids all came through. This was a channel way for them all to come through, and we believe we're sort of at the beginning of where all of this camp sort of started. So going back to the 1800s, there's 101 creeks in this trend that have recorded historic gold production. In excess of 2 million ounces, $2 million worth of gold has been produced from the area where we are in placer production. How this property was first recognized, and this was several years before Barkerville even came into play, is that the old timers sunk a shaft on a quartz vein, because the quartz veins, you've got all this native gold that's in these quartz veins. And when they sunk this shaft through this big quartz vein that they went through it, when they went on the bottom of it, the footwall side of it, they ended up going into a type of rock that they hadn't recognized before. And the only reason, and this was back in 1865, this company was the third company in the province to be incorporated, and it was one of the first 5 companies to actually sink a shaft in British Columbia. So this is going back quite some time. And in sinking the shaft, when they went through the vein, they went into a greenstone contact, and in this greenstone contact, there's all this. It's gold is encapsulated in pyrite, and as cyanide wouldn't be invented to the 1920s, they couldn't do anything with this, so it all just became waste rock. So when these mines were all leveled in the 70s, 80s, and early 90s, all of these areas were all bulldozed over by the government. Took it upon themselves to do that, to reclaim all these properties and plant trees and so on. This was one of them, those properties. And when staff was walking around the property and looking at it, when it was available, they noticed the same rock type that we had when we made the discovery back in 2000. And they're going, and so when it was brought to me, I'm going, figure out where it came from. So because it had been bulldozed everywhere, it was difficult to find out where it did come from. And that's just been done now through doing some LiDAR work and some ground geophysical work. Some airborne geophysics has been done on it. So now it's go drill it and prove it up. That's where we're at.
How has your experience with Barkerville, making a major discovery, changed the way that you think about exploration today when you're looking at the properties that you have within Golden Caribou?
Well, it's all about being in the right rocks. That's paramount. So when you're in the right rocks, the chances of discovery are very good. So having made this discovery, as you mentioned, back in 2000, we know what rock type that we're looking for, and this is it. as I mentioned earlier, all of the great mines in the world are on this greenstone type contact. The Malartic mine that Osisko Development put into production, the grade of that mine is less than a gram, and they're doing 60,000 tons a day. It's the largest mine in Canada. These grades that we're getting are similar to what they have, and the widths are very large. And I'm expecting larger widths. But what's been reported today, up to today, we've had some in excess of 100-foot intercepts, and on two very early holes that we've now re-looked at and sort of and remodeled what we were doing from before. Like others that had been there before us, people were looking at quartz veins. Well, the quartz veins are just one source of gold in this camp. It's the rest of the rock that also carries gold that's been overlooked before.
So what can you tell us about the cap table? And this is always a big question with junior investors that are looking at these companies. What prices has money been raised at? And are there any notable investors that are worth commenting on if I'm an investor looking at it and saying, okay, that group's in? What can you tell us about the cap table?
Sure. So initially, I think the current market cap of the company is about $12 million. It's, there's light of 40 million shares issued. Management, I personally control over 20%. Management in total is about 30% of the company. So the 40 million shares, I'm going to suggest that there's probably somewhere north of 25 million shares that's in the public's hands. And it's friends and family that did the first round. We did a round at 10 cents a share to get the company going. This company, to give you a little bit of background on the company, we've actually had the public company since the middle of 2000 when the discovery was made, and it was set up as a real estate company to acquire all of the land from Barkerville going south down to likely BC. And when the Barkerville was created, the assets of three different public companies were morphed into one to create Barkerville Gold Mines. So we just kept this company on the shelf, looking for a project and just buying our time. The shareholders did really well. It was a 10-bagger for everybody in the early days, and we just sort of kept it on the shelf. And then when this project came along, it was put into, I had this project initially privately first, the Hickson property privately, and kept it private for a couple of years before I vended it into Golden Caribou. And now the company's just been consolidated again. Everybody's in the money. It's been near a triple for the people that did the private placement, a double for the people that did a previous private placement. So everybody's in the money. We're just keep the project going, keep the drilling going, and keep news coming out, and that should appreciate gold price.
That's something that I think is always really interesting. If you're a retail investor and you're thinking about investing in an exploration company, there's nothing worse than when you invest in a company and there's no news flow. And I forget who said it to me, but I thought it was a great quote that when you're in the small cap or junior mining business, you're in the entertainment business. So it's your job to keep the news flow going. And that's something that I appreciate about your approach. Is my understanding is that you basically always want to have drills going. So you've always got news to show your investors. Is that accurate?
It's very accurate. Has been my MO from day one, is that a drill always must be going literally 7 days a week. That's the way you create news flow. I'm one of those old school people that I think that news should go out every Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest, so that shareholders want to know what's going on. And unless they phone up the office to find out what's going on, they want to just read emails and stuff, tell me, or these podcasts that we're doing, which are wonderful. But no, I insist that news go out every week, and keeping the shareholders informed of what you're doing. It's their money. They put up some really hard earned after tax dollars cash to make some money, and they're making a bet. They've gone to the track. That's what this is all about.
So Frank, normally I close up these interviews by asking companies, what's the game plan for the remainder of 2024? If I'm an investor, what can I expect? it sounds like the expectation here is you guys have the properties that you have, and the plan is to keep the drill bit going and watch for the results, and they're ultimately going to tell the story. Is that fair?
Well, it's very fair. What we've got here is we've got a team of people that have found and put into production 2 mines already. We're after a third. I've come out of retirement really believing that the staff have really found something here, and it looks large. We've traced these contacts for respectively 3.5 and 4.5 kilometers in strike length. We're just at the very beginning of the work program, and the drill's going to continue going, and I'm expecting very good results. And at the end of the season, we'll see if we can actually put together some sort of maiden resource if we're that lucky. No, this is the beginning of a great story, and I believe that we will be taken over by somebody in the future. This is really shaping up into something very large. I think it's going to be very large.
Well, Frank, thanks very much for hopping on here. I hope to come down and see the property soon and get to see what's happening on the ground. And we're very excited to be invested in the story, and look forward to you keep coming back on here and discussing the results as they begin to be released.
Very good. Thank you for having me, and stay tuned. There's more to come.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this interview, please smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, let me know what you think in the comments section. Thanks, everyone.